why the layoff essentially, and what, I guess, contributed to that or influenced that, and how are things different now to allow you to be able to be, consistent more long term, and maybe not have to go through something like that, well, hopefully, right,
Mhm.
regardless of potential circumstances. But maybe you can elaborate on that.
Yeah. So I guess I'll backtrack to 2013. So 2013, 2013 to 2016 were the biggest chunk of years where I just completely took off of training. And the main the main reason behind that was I had burnt myself out from 2009 to 2012, just living, eating, sleeping, and just being too hyper focused, on training, nutrition, etc. And it just got to the point where the bodybuilding lifestyle just consumed me way too much. Um, and it completely showed in my, because I had originally planned to prep in 2013, and I was under the eyes of Matt Jansen. And so that was one of the first preps I never finished, mainly due to going to school, new girlfriend who I'm currently married to, working two jobs, and it was just too much. So the next 3 years, I ended up taking completely off of training, financial, along with personal issues as well. And I came out a much better person, a different perspective. And that was the main driver of my 2017 prep when I returned. I wanted to prove that you could do this in a more flexible manner, as opposed to, you know, sacrifice to win type mentality.
Yeah, bleed.
Yeah, yeah, bleed.
Blood and
And so,
guts. No, I'm just kidding.
so no, you're 100% right, man. And so the 2017 prep, that was kind of like the main theme. It was a younger Jeff Alberts approach, or taking the wisdom that I had received from Jeff, but applied, in a 27-year-old. But then after that, after I had won 2017 Worlds, I took another 6 months off. That was mainly due to personal reasons as well. Plus, work was very manual labor intensive. And then 2018 again, another 3 to 4 months off, leading up to my 2019 prep. But since then, aside from the pandemic, there hasn't been uh, as much of a layoff.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Do you think there were some training related factors involved in that, or nutrition related factors that might have been involved as that as well? I know you said that you were just burnt out. Was that mostly from contest prep and just, being consumed mentally with bodybuilding more so than anything? Or was there, yeah, like I mentioned, training related influences, maybe nutrition related influences that were involved there?
Uh, I would say yeah. Even back then, I still followed the flexible dieting approach.
Okay.
So even like during my layoff, I still somewhat ate relatively, I guess, like a bodybuilder. I mean, I had in my mind how much protein I was consuming and whatnot, but in terms of nutrient timing, food sources, they weren't that great. Um, and then even training, I mean, training wasn't 100% laid off. There may have been some weeks where I would have gotten in there maybe once in the gym, but the main focus was just working on, um, going back to school,
Sure.
making sure that relationship between my wife, my now wife, and my stepson was 100%, and I was 100% mentally and physically there
Gotcha.
for them.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, absolutely. That's so important because nowadays you see, or at least I've almost fallen into the trap as well. I was telling when I was talking with Jeff, because you brought him up as well, Jeff Alberts, about this, where you can go down this slippery slope that's hard to climb out of, and that could lead to kind of what you went through, where you're taking, well, multiple years off, right?
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate, but there's a lesson to be learned, which is great. It seems like that's the important thing. It's not like we're trying to make the same mistakes over and over again, right? So, but yeah, where you're full blown, you have this goal, this thing set, and you just sacrifice everything, family, relationships, jobs, all of it for this thing, where when you zoom out, you realize, wow, that was pretty silly of me.
100%. And it's
Right.
even it's it sucks seeing that still happen, like with people that are in prep. And that's
Yeah.
why I take such a just a sustainable approach, is like that your family doesn't care if you're dieting, your kids don't care if you're dieting, people at work don't give a shit if you're dieting. And it's up to you, you know, to embrace that and to understand and accept it. Like, you're the one putting yourself through this, and those around you should not be affected.